What is up, traders? How are we? Now, the last video I did, I was calling out this trade, which was kind of nice. Um, I gave y'all this. We had take profits here at 47, as well as I think 23. And before I kind of get into the video here, I do want to preface that I give all my trades in my Telegram channel. So not only did I give it in the last video, but I made sure to post it here to kind of show y'all what I kind of do, and of course not to copy trade me, but to just kind of like follow along in my journey. And this is, in a way, this is just something I would do regardless of if people wanted to tune in or not. It's kind of just a way for me to journal my journey and kind of document it so that way, it'd be fun to come and like look back, right? So I just kind of like to do these recaps to kind of go over my thoughts and my trading ideas and just kind of get them out into the universe, and that way they don't just fleet away. Um, but on the 5th, I posted this after this video, and I was telling y'all that that was long on Solana. Now, we saw that Sol and Bitcoin. We saw that the Sol Bitcoin chart was giving us some signs, right? So if we put it on a week chart, we could see that this gap that it had been trading in, plus this range, the range being from here, redraw this again, from here all the way to here. This was kind of the range, that it had kind of established. And it kind of confirms it when it comes back down and it bounces off of it like perfectly here. Which is kind of how my mind tells me that the price action is respecting this range. And subsequently, this range broke right here. So like theoretically, this would have been a good time to short Solana in this kind of zone. So, and then if we were to go back, so from essentially from the 17th of February all the way till the 16th of June. So from the 17th of January. Yeah, so like this downtrend right here was all when this was going on too. You feel me? Like you see how like it's correlated there from March to kind of the middle of June. Well, I guess it also kind of had a pump too, right? But you can see that like it was good to find a short just because it was weak against Bitcoin. And that's kind of like my general rule because Bitcoin is obviously king, right? Bitcoin is the biggest coin that there is. Now, we saw that the chart was poking through this level again. It was like, hey, I want to kind of start coming out of here. So once we saw that this candle closed, I was kind of in. And the thing is, I also have the preconceived bias of like being bullish on Solana fundamentally, meaning that I like the coin and I fuck with the devs, and I just it's a coin that I have like an emotional attachment to almost because of like meme trading and all this. So I have bias, right? But having bias is okay. It's just okay to you gotta acknowledge it. You can't pretend like you don't have a bias, because of course I do. But I basically saw that one of my favorite assets was breaking out of this kind of level. Not to mention, there was a 3 month fair value gap. And if you guys watch the channel, you guys will realize that I love fair value gaps. And these gaps give me a lot of good inclination to where after price reacts to these certain levels, I can kind of therefore create a hypothesis on like, okay, price is more likely to move this way than it is to move this way based off of what it does on this particular level. And it doesn't have to be a fair value gap. It could be any kind of key level. But these are what I really use, right? So not to mention, price came in and we tapped the middle of the gap, right? See how we wicked off of it? That's something I always look at as very bullish. As they say, the wicks do the damage and the body tells the story. So the wicks did the damage here. And the body of this candle, this next candle, the 3 month candle at least, it's showing us that it wants to trade out of this range and come back into this zone right here and start kind of like doing this, right? The analysis, the market analysis just shows what traders like want to do, and like it shows their past of like what they have done, and using what they have done, we can kind of guess what they might do next. And that's kind of like what trading is in my mind. That gave me good, you know, that gave me a good feeling in order to like long this. Now, when this 3 month candle closes, it'll be even better. And to preface, I closed most of my position. So I closed most of my position here at this take profit. So if we go back to the Telegram, I showed y'all exactly when I was taking profits. So boom, I took profit here at 223. You know, first take profit hit. Told y'all that I was de-risking, and I basically, as my position moved up, I moved my stop loss. So boom, I moved my stop loss to 190. Right, just reduce the risk a little bit in case it turned against me really fast. And you can see that it's pretty much retraced this whole move, which is what happens. This is crypto, right? That's why we take profits, right? That's exactly why I had these two take profit zones, and I didn't just take profit up here, because now I can load a position down here again and send it even back up to where I wanted to take profit. I'm gonna let my cat in real quick. Oh, what's up, dude? Good. Come say hi to the folks. And that's kind of like what led me to believe that what kind of gave me confidence on this trade. And this is something that I like doing, and I've noticed my trading has improved a lot by just building a thesis and giving it to I shoot these to my friends as well. I have a closed group with just my close friends where I'm speaking out my trading ideas and I'm giving a little hypothesis on it, almost like I'm a fucking scientist, right? Which is, it's fucking crypto trading. I'm not, obviously not a fucking scientist, but I like to imagine I'm like a surgeon and I really need to be surgical with it. I need to come in with precision, with a plan, and execute that plan, whether it goes right. With surgeries, there sometimes is a percent chance that it could go wrong. And that's the same thing with trading. Like, it's never 100%. So, same thing with when you're doing a surgery. It's, yeah, there's a 2% chance this could go wrong. But if I follow my procedure, then 98% of the time, it is going to play out for me. And obviously trading, there's less of an edge of like 98%. It's more closer to the 50-50 kind of range. But as long as I can tip the scale and win, say 60-70% of the time, then over time, I'm going to end up becoming profitable. And that's what I've been finding recently. that when I fledge out my kind of ideas and speak them out and kind of think them over, and especially not letting them go unseen. Often, I notice a lot of my friends who trade sometimes will never bounce their ideas off people, and it can kind of screw up your trading because you can try to get away with like a trade that's not really that good. And for me at least, it helps when I have somebody almost like an archangel or my group of angels are watching me, right? So I really fuck with that. But anyways, yeah. That's kind of how I think about trading in a general sense. And that's what I've been kind of learning to accept it as. It's not a money printer, it's just a way to like you're basically just playing probabilities. Oops. But you have to develop your own thesis. You can't just copy me. You can't just copy me your whole life, right? You can learn from me and kind of where I've been finding success. And that's kind of the goal of this whole thing. But I am looking at Hyperliquid as my next asset that I want to trade back up to its highs. Now, there's been a whole new wave of perpetual DEX platforms. Hyperliquid was kind of the main OG, not OG, but they were the kind of pioneer of this little meta, right? Now, there's been a bunch of other coins. One of them is called Aster. So this is more crypto based rather than like trading focused. But Aster is a coin where it's backing a DEX that's also backed by CZ, this Chinese dude who's also the owner of BNB chain, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, which is Binance. And they're some fucking real. They're the real deal, right? Like their coin at this point is at like a band, which is it's a pretty high market cap. It's like one of the top 5 market caps in crypto, so it's up there. Now he backed this project. It's very similar to Hyperliquid. So you can see that Hyperliquid's price was affected by the hype of this coin. So the market is very attention based, right? So if you know that attention shifted off of hype for a little while, it's a good thing because nothing changed about the asset. You know what I mean? Nothing changed about the tokenomics, about the way the coin works. None of this. Everything's the same. The only thing that happened was another variable was tossed into the mix. And therefore, prices can move. Prices are going to move regardless. Sometimes they just need a catalyst. And you don't even really need to be looking into all of this. The price reflects the story. The price reflects all this, you know, all of this drama that is pretty unnecessary, like theoretically, because I can see in the chart or in the price action rather that like the story is being told, but it makes sense with context. So it's always nice to get a little bit of context for my opinion, when I'm building like a trading idea, when I'm building a thesis. Now, I like that hype. We're coming back in and tapping this fair value gap, which is here on the 4 hour. There's not that many gaps. There's not that many large time frame gaps on hype. We are making some right here. So these are going to be zones to watch out for when price comes back up in the right direction for me. But because and the reason I talk about so the higher time frame the gap is, the more significance that it holds. The more significant the individual levels become. So if I just go on, like I have an indicator that automatically shows me fair value gaps, right? which you can do these on your own easily. But if I go on the hour and I use, like, I'm not treating each one of these gaps with significance the same way I would the monthly, right? Um, but I like to gap them out and divide them up into the different percentages of the levels and see if the market uses these levels as, areas of interest, I like to call them. And it looks like what we're doing here to this 4 hour gap is that not only have we used it as interest before, if we notice back here, notice how these two candles didn't close below the middle of this gap, right? See how they whipped off of it. And this is something you can see when you're trading on a higher time frame. A lot of people are really zoomed in and they forget that this is really the place to be, in my opinion. Trading is very subjective. Everybody looks at it through a different lens. So when I say things about trading, this is all through Sully's lens, right? This is through my own experience through being a trader and like what I've found to work. So yeah, I just wanted to preface that. But notice how these two didn't close below the middle of the gap. Through that knowledge, we can kind of build along off of this. And if I was here, I would have, thought in my brain, hey, this actually gives me a good chance. There's a high likely chance that we might move in the right direction, right? And it looks like we did. And then you can use these gaps already got filled, but there was like a gap. Let's see. Find areas to take profit rather. Like there's a gap here. It's a very small gap. No, this actually got filled. On the daily. And this is just an example. Like, for example, if I were to take this trade, where would I have taken profit, I guess? I guess there weren't really no gaps, but you can trade it to the top of this range. This was the previous all-time high, And it basically almost tapped this. It tapped this order block here, is what this is. So I use order blocks too. Not as much, but they're just another like thing to use for confluence. So order blocks, so I'll make orange. So back to the 4 hour. Sorry, getting a little bit off track there. But notice how we smacked that level, and it would have been nice to take a long from here. Maybe like here when the candle closed. And also notice how, I talk about this a lot too, but notice how this red candle gets engulfed by the green one. That's something I really fuck with. So once I saw that, boom, could have set up a long to this level and then put it to the bottom of the fair value gap. And that would have been a 2-to-2 reward to risk ratio, right? So then, boom, you're at a good setup. This is a good setup for me. Anyways, but that's just the gist of it. And then knowing that we used it beforehand as an area of interest, I'm noticing here that we're coming back into this level, right? Notice how we're wicking off of the first level of the gap. I don't have this marked out normally, like I don't have it labeled like I normally do. But anyways, this is the area I'm looking at for a reversal. Now, you can play it safe too and wait until the price does reverse and like the previous highs get broken and the trend changes. But sometimes to make more profit, you got to take more risk. But don't take more risk if you're not going to make more profit. The only reason you should take more risk is if you're going to be receiving more profit. It makes sense, right? You have to balance out the risk and the reward. Now, one thing that I will say before I end the video, I do want to say that one thing that's helped me in making money trading perpetuals is predefining my risk. So what does predefining your risk mean? That means when I hop into this trade, say I wanted to buy hype right now, my mind goes like this. Okay, how much money am I risking? Because how much money I risk determines how much money I will make. So if I put this tool, this long position tool is great to use, the projection tool. So say I wanted to long it up to the middle level here. If my stop loss is below here, then I'll be like this. Okay, I want to risk $100, for example. So I'll choose how much money monetarily wise that I want to put up for grabs, right? So if I put up $100 here, I'm looking to make 300 type shit. So like I use this risk to reward ratio number as an indicator on like, okay, I know how much profit I'm gonna make through like predefining my risk, making sure that I'm like, okay, I either, win this trade and win $300, or I lose the trade and it's minus $100. Now, that being said, if price moves up here, let's see here. If price moves, boom, back up to here, then that doesn't mean that I can't then, let me put the trade back on. Then I can move my stop loss. So I can't really even show you there, but move my stop loss up to break even at least. I practice that as well, which is good, like risk management. And I'm gonna make more videos on all these topics. I'm kind of realizing now, because it would be nice to kind of have a video to send y'all or just to link when I talk about shit. That way, you kind of learn the shit that I've learned, and it'll make more sense when I talk about it. Um, but anyways, this trade we're taking on hype. I've already signaled it in my Telegram channel, which is, you will find a link to it down below. But I got an entry of $45, 45.7. So we're almost break even right now, pretty much. But we're looking for this pattern to kind of play out. And I will keep y'all updated on the trade if you're interested. I'm gonna end it here. But yeah, I wanted to update y'all with a little recap and kind of just speak. So yeah, traders, you guys enjoy your day. It's about fucking what, noon here? A little past noon. Gonna enjoy the rest of my day. Hope y'all do too. Peace out.